Forza Motorsport has been out for a while now. I've already made some videos chatting about how it was at launch and also is it good now. It's getting there slowly, but it's not quite there yet. However, the endurance series and the endurance events are finally here, and just in time for the Le Mans 24 hour, which took place at the time of recording last weekend. I enjoyed watching it immensely again this year. Next up, I'm actually going to be keeping my eye out for the Spa 24, which is in not too long. And little fun fact about me, even though I'm from the southern tip of Africa, I actually had the amazing opportunity of flying all the way to Europe and spectating the Spa 24 hour in Belgium from the pits of Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. It was absolutely mind-blowing, and on that note, that just means that for me, endurance racing has a bit of a special place in my heart. I love GT racing as well, and all forms of motorsport, so I'm quite excited to get this update in for Forza Motorsport that, like I've explained before, is slowly getting there. It's finally getting better. It's not as janky as it was before. They've updated a few of the ways that things work, but you know, they still got some work to do. But I'm really hoping, you know, I was discussing this with some buddies the other day while we were doing a multiplayer event in the game, is that we really hope this goes the way of Halo Infinite, where it came out and really it was not great, and it was, you know, there was potential, but it wasn't fully realized. And now if you go and play Halo Infinite now, it's incredible. Like, if you're into that sort of thing, don't give up on it. Like, go check it out. It's, you know, and I'm hoping that the same thing is really going to happen for Forza Motorsport, that when we look back and say, you know what, it was a bit rough in the beginning, but boy, like, we got something really good in the end, and, you know, thank goodness for that. So, jumping into this whole ordeal about the endurance racing events and everything that have been added. Number one, for a limited time, they gave away the Porsche hypercar that you saw going around in Le Mans. So that was a nice addition to go with the Cadillac that was, you know, it's a cover car in the game. So there's new events that have been added into the career mode as well as the multiplayer. So whether you're going solo or going to go play online, you've got some options there in both ways. But either way, I played these. So I think I'm going to talk about the goods and the bads of these, because there is some good and some bad, but I think I'll kick things off with the good. First of all, long races are cool, because, you know what, even though these are technically sort of endurance events in Forza, what they've really done is actually offer us the ability to play some real, you know, lengthed races. I mean, an endurance series race in Forza Motorsport runs anywhere between, I think some of the ones I've done, 40 minutes, 45 minutes to 1 hour, depending on which ones you're doing. And I mean, that's an actual race in any real life motorsport series. That's just basically a sprint or a feature race. So even though it is endurance, it is nice to finally get something with the pacing of a real race in Forza. Now, some of the cool things about that is that the tires are on a 3 times sort of speed up on their degradation, and the pits play a bit more of a role. And there's also this whole, you know, the whole aspect of having to keep up extra focus, and it really makes you respect these guys who are actually out there at 2 o'clock in the morning, busy, you know, blasting around Spa or Circuit de la Sarthe for the Le Mans, you know, things like that. Because once you've been playing for, you know, once you start getting to like 30 minutes and then 40 minutes and so on, it's the time when your focus starts getting a bit dodgy, and when we played online, a friend of mine actually said, you know, that he had done one the day before already, and he said, you know, once he got to the end, he was starting to lose his focus a bit, and it happens. We were racing, we were doing the Le Mans 24 hour, which was a 1 hour event, and at some point, at about 45 minutes in, I remember looking at my screen and just thinking in that moment, I actually have no idea where I am on the track. I couldn't remember I think I was on the Mulsanne straight, but I couldn't remember, had I gone through the first chicane, had I gone through the second chicane. And I think it turned out I was actually flying towards the Porsche curves, which is not the kind of place you want to be flying towards and not knowing without knowing what's coming. But it's a part of the fun. It's a part of that, you know, that whole thing where you've got to really keep that focus on and keep going, and consistency matters. What's cool about the endurance series as well is that you get the whole night and day element With the Le Mans 24 hour, you start, just like in the real race, you start in the day, it goes all the way through the night, and then it comes back to the day again. We also did I did a 12 hour of Silverstone online, which essentially, I think basically 12 hours equates to half an hour in the game. So a 12 hours about a half an hour race, and a 24 hours about an hour race. So we also did a nighttime Silverstone race in the rain, which was quite cool. That was in GT cars, while the Le Mans 24 hour we did in just hypercars. So it's interesting and fun because the weather and the visibility and everything of the day and night cycle changes a lot. You'll see in some of the footage that I've put up, even there's moments where the sun starts getting low that really becomes challenging because you approach a series of corners and you genuinely cannot see anything. Lucky for us, at the time multiplier that you have in the game, you only have to deal with that for like a lap, whereas in real life some of these guys are having to deal with the sun in their eyes for 10 minutes or more or something, or multiple laps. But again, it's cool because the endurance stuff, this adds all these little elements in which make it more fun than just driving your car around the track. There's the pits, there's the visibility, there's all of that stuff. What I didn't see in the time that I've played so far was a lot of changing weather conditions. It would have been cool, like in that Le Mans 24 hour, if halfway through it started raining a bit or something like that, but there was nothing like that. Also, I did a Sebring 12 hour as well in my normal career mode, and also there was no weather changes, but either way, it's really cool. I've really enjoyed this whole element of it. And with the good is going to come some of the bad. So as much as the long races is a good thing, it's also kind of a bad thing, right? Because there's terms and conditions apply. So if there's a long race, of course there's commitment that's involved in that. What I really appreciate on the modern consoles, like especially the Xbox Series X with Quick Resume and the Series S, is that you can, halfway through a race, you can just shut down and do whatever you want, and then when you come back later, you can just switch your console on and Quick Resume and back into the race you go. Whereas, of course, you can't do that in multiplayer. So if you're going to go do a multiplayer session and you include things like practice mode and qualifying that you use within that practice mode, and then the lobby parts and all that, you're looking at quite a chunky bit of time. Like you have to be prepared to go and dedicate a good, hour and maybe 20 minutes or something to an event. And it's worth noting that you can't even take a bathroom break. Unless you pause and you let the game auto drive for you at, I think it's like 80% speed, you're going to lose a lot of ground. But I mean, that's, the only other option you have is that when your car comes into the pits, you go running off. I did, however, I must tell you, in the Le Mans 24 hour, I had to genuinely do a refuel maneuver with my controller, because I realized a bunch into that race that my controller was starting to die, and I started getting very, very nervous. And as my car popped into the pits, I literally launched myself off the couch, ran to the front to my TV where I have a USB-C cable, plugged it in, and let it fill my controller for the duration of the pit stop, and then unplugged it and quickly ran back and sat back down on the TV, and it gave me enough energy to last out for the end of the race. So that was quite a immersive experience, if I've ever had one. Okay, so carrying on with the long races, if you get knocked out, for example, that's also kind of horrible. We had the situation where right in the beginning of the race, you're doing everything you can to stay clean, and some guy crashes in front of you or smacks you off, and then that kind of sucks because you get thrown to the back, and then you're stuck at the back for the whole race. You're not easily going to get to the front, although I was happy to say doing some pit stuff can get you some advantage. I managed in the one race where we got knocked back, myself and a buddy were all the way back in 12th or 13th, and by doing something a little bit smart with the pit stops, which is very, very uncharacteristic of a Ferrari fan like me, to actually pull something off good with strategy. But because of that, I ended up coming 6th in the race, 6th or 7th, instead of 11th and 12th, just because I decided, I think I ran a lap longer on hards or something like that before I came in, and either way, it worked. And when I realized I was actually still up there after my pits, I was very chuffed. Again, something kind of cool. So this is supposed to be a negative, so that didn't go so well, but you know what I mean. The other thing is there's mixed classes, which I really like, but I've only experienced that so far in career mode. And the major issue here is that the AI have no idea how to handle each other. So I was in a race where I was chasing 2 hypercars in front of me. I was in 3rd place in career mode. They were absolutely flying, these guys, because they were in, I think the Porsche they were in was actually almost a level above me. It was rated as X. And I was trying to catch these guys, but when we finally hit traffic, they just didn't really know what to do, and they would like go slamming brakes and kind of sliding off a little bit because they couldn't navigate around the GT cars that we were starting to catch after a few laps. And even though they were able to sort of get back on track and catch up, or get in front again or whatever, ultimately it caused a lot of trouble, and I had to rewind a bunch of times to sort of undo the chaos that had happened. And at the end of the day, I actually won the race in the end, even though I was in 3rd pretty much the whole race, just because in the last few laps when we started hitting traffic again, the AI leaders just couldn't manage things, and they went careening off and smashing into walls, or running off into the dirt just because they were struggling to deal with that AI. So I would really like to see stuff like that handled better. And I don't know yet if you can do it, but I'd also really like to do some races where I'm in the slower GT cars while there's hypercars going around, which I haven't done yet, and I'm not quite sure if that is in or if it's coming. But on that note, coming to like a final thought on this is that I like a lot what's happened with the endurance, and with all the new tracks that they've added and all the these new things and the changes and updates they're doing. The game is getting good, and it's looking good. It's running well, and it's getting more. It's becoming a deeper experience. But there's still some things, especially that are shown in endurance, that it feels like it's lacking, that it really needs, that I would love to see going forwards. I've mentioned in the past that, we need things like proximity radars, which I do believe is coming now. But I would love to see stuff like upfront strategy, like you get in the F1 games, for example. Like I want to, if I'm going to be doing an endurance race, I want up front to be able to see a little bar and just sort of move things around and say, okay, cool, my plan is to run hards until this long, and then run mediums, and then run softs, or something like that, or have that coincide with a bit of weather sort of timeline to say, okay, well, it looks like the weather's coming in 20 minutes, so I'm going to run soft or something, and then I'm going to switch to weather, wet weather for the rest of the race, or something like that. That could be cool. There's a few other things like that I would like to see added to the game. I think it would also be super cool if they do something online where you can do like some co-op races, because in endurance racing you're never racing in a team by yourself. It would be kind of rad even if we could do something just with some friends where you take the first shift and the next guy takes the next shift, or something like that. And you can even maybe work as a spotter for each other, or strategist or something like that, just to keep things interesting. Sure, it won't be for everyone, but I kind of like that idea that you can maybe hand off, so you each playing a certain amount of time, even if it's each pit stop maybe 10 minutes at a time or something that you're swapping over, or just something official like that would be kind of cool. So yeah, Forza is in a good space. It's getting better. These new modes are cool. I love that over time all the tracks that have been added are starting to really add up. And it's, Sebring came with this update as well, I should probably mention. So we've got Sebring added, which is an old favorite of mine. We started getting, we got Hockenheim and the full Nürburgring and Yas Marina and all of these, and it's really adding up. So it's really becoming solid. I think really what this game needs is a lot of the people who are playing the multiplayer are constantly moaning about something, and some of their problems are very valid, so they need to get sorted with that. And then for everyone else, they really need to get this career mode fixed. And when I say fixed, I mean they need something a bit more juicy. They need to possibly look at actually overhauling the career mode and relaunching it and saying, hey guys, we've relaunched the career mode where we've put a nice juicy system in place where you're actually playing through some sort of pathway to unlock things and do things, rather than what you've got now, which essentially just feels like a whole bunch of unlockable events, and it's nothing anywhere as cool as you would get playing a Gran Turismo game in the old days with the maps and things, or even the way that some of the race driver games or the grid games and stuff would do. That's basically my thoughts on Forza. So the ultimate summary of everything I've said really comes down to the fact that I really love that they've added the endurance mode, and I really love that it's added this whole new element to the game, and it's made the online multiplayer quite fun. And I hope that this is is I hope they go even deeper into this and make it even better, because there's really something great here, and you know, they can always coincide these with the real events and so on. I'd like to see a whole bunch more hypercars as well, please. I need that Ferrari, and you know, along with the others. I mean, I just love this hypercar class. The Lamborghinis look so cool, the Alpines look so cool, despite the fact that they ran for, and this is a true fact apparently, they ran for less time in the Le Mans 24 hour than the safety car. But I would like to see them in the game nonetheless. That's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button to let me know. And if you haven't, please subscribe and check out the channel for more videos. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you soon.